Okay, I found it. So we're going to go to File. We're going to go to Options. And then we're going to click Formulas. And up here it says Workbook Calculation. This is where you want to change it to Automatic. So click Automatic up here. And you can see this was on Manual. And it just says Recalculate Workbook before saving. That is incorrect. So we want Automatic. So basically whenever we make a change, all of the formulas recalculate. So when we clear it, that's going to take us back to zeros. So again, File, Options, Formulas, make sure Automatic is checked, and click OK. There you can see they all changed. So now let's try it. Run Opto, OK, picked players. Now when we clear it out, this column here should go back to zeros if it worked. Perfect. It's all back to zero, so we're good. So let's go back and do our lock with Steph Curry. L. That changes here. So that was one of the biggest problems. You want them to be automatic because when you click L or let's say X, you want it to instantly change because you're going to run the optimizer, and if it does not, it's not going to pick up this change. So now we're going to run it, and Durant should not be in there, and Steph Curry should. Okay. All right, so it did pick Steph Curry. It locked him in, and we did not get Kevin Durant, so now it's working properly. So if you ran into an error, that is likely what the cause was. Now, the optimizer is running, and it's working for Fanduel. So right now, your macro button should work okay. Your lock exclude should work. So the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to run over how to do this lineup up here. It's a little bit more complex, so if you want to stop here and you're happy saying, hey, if I can run this and then pick out my players and meet my positions, this is a good stopping point. It's great. If you want to get a little bit more complex and have them come up here, I'm going to go ahead and walk you through that in the next video. Alright guys, so welcome back to our bonus NBA Fanduel tutorial. We're going to pick up right where we left off. Right now our optimizer for NBA is running and working. We're going to clear it. Now we are going to update this over here because we was using this for golf with 6 golfers. So what we want to do, we're going to keep the player name, salary, and projection. And then, so right now we are going to go ahead and just highlight all this and delete it. And then I'm meticulous, so I like to go ahead and just do, okay, no fill. And we're going to do no border. So I want to get it back to the beginning. So we've got the position, or we've got what we're going to search for, player name, salary, etc., etc. So I'm going to go right click, add a column here, and just call it position. We're just going to do POS. All right, so that should give us our totals here. Now for Fanduel, we've got a very specific set of parameters, so we need something to run in the background. And so when we put our lineups together, this has to be PG1, PG2, SG1, SG2, SF1, SF2, PF1, PF number 2, and center 1. So what I'm going to do is I put the positions in here because I kind of want them to come in order. So we have 2 point guards, we have 2 shooting guards, 2 small forwards, etc., etc. And then we're going to pull these down. So I'm going to go ahead and add the brackets. And then we are going to auto sum this. And then we are going to auto sum this. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete the numbers out of there, so it should auto sum down here. If not, we'll come back and touch on that. So this is what we want to fill out. So when we run our optimized lineup, so when we click Run Opto, we want it to spit everything out here so we can look at it instead of clicking down this column and saying, hey, I like that, I don't like that. So this is a little bit more complex. So you need something hidden to run in the background. So I'm going to show you on the one that I built what I did. So over here on my NBA one, down here you can see mine all print out here nice and neat, and then you can hit reset, you can hit optimize again, and it's going to spit them out in order of the position. So you can see point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. So the background running down here in the black below the 200, I've got this column right here. And so this is basically just pulling down the players. It's doing an index match, pulling their position. And then this column is totaling and doing a count off of this position. And then this is basically searching up the player name and putting it in there. And then once this is optimized, this box here, we're searching for this. So we're searching PG1 and returning these formulas. And where it's searching at is down here in the bottom. So it's going to search this right here. And it's going to find PG1, Brian Forbes, and spit him up there. Then it's going to go look for PG2, Patty Mills, put him up there. Then it's going to go SG1, find a Rosen, put him up there. So we need a little box like this to run in the background. Some people can do it on a hidden page. You can do it and cover it up. So for me, I did it and covered it up. So what I did is I just took all these cells right here and then went up. Let me unlock this. And then I just blacked them out. So they're right there. You can't see them. It's just kind of hidden in the background, something to help us make it a little neater. So I'm going to go ahead and unfill this. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So that's the explainer of what we're doing. So we've got the optimal lineup up here, what we're looking for, and we have our positions. You should have those in there already. So we're going to go down here. So like we said before, Solver will take 200 lines of code, and I'm going to, we can put it wherever. Let's just go ahead and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it kind of right here. So we've got this side blacked out so we know where to stop if we're importing or pasting projections over here. And these are all calculated columns, and this is our lock column. So in here is where we're going to add the stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and write it out because it does get a little bit more complex. Okay, so first off, I'm going to start off, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and Fanduel's 9. So we've got 1 through 9. So these are going to be the 9 players that it selects. And like I said, I'm meticulous. I want them centered, so I'm going to center them up. And then over here in the next column, we're going to do... Actually, I'm going to skip one column, and the reason I'm skipping a column is because I can't remember on mine if that is meaningful or not. So I want to make sure that I follow it pretty close. And then we're going to do this column. And let me paste this formula over here. And I'll leave it up on the screen if you want to try to type it in. But first, let me get it. It's an offset match formula, which for some reason they confuse the heck out of me. So the offset match is going to be the position column, and for us that is column B. So offset match B1, so that says where we are going to go look. This is what it's going to return, and then we're going to match A202, and so for us we moved this in a different spot. It was A202 on my other one, and so we're going to match this column, which is going to be O201. So I'm going to change this to O201. So we're going to match the number 1, and then we're going to match this in the grand total column. So our grand total column is N. So it's just going to be N:N. And then we've got these comma 0, etc. on there. So I'll go ahead and leave this up on the screen. So basically what this is going to do, it's going to say, hey, I want to know what is in column B2. So I want to know what position it is. And we're going to do it by matching the number 1 in the grand total column. So it's going to come to the grand total column, find 1. So that's the first player. And then it's going to go back and give us that position. Or at least that's what it's supposed to do. So we're going to test it out. So came back as NA. Well, that's perfectly fine because we don't have any that we've picked. So let's go ahead and click Run Opto. Okay. All right, now we have some players in there. So what it should do is say, okay, I'm going to look in this column, and when I match the number, I'm going to go to this column and return this value. So it's going to say, okay, there's a 1. I'm going to run back here. Shooting guard. So it should return SG for us. Okay. And it did, so that's good. Let me go ahead and center that so I can put it in the middle. So that returned SG for us. So that's great. So I'm going to highlight this column, and like we said down here bottom right, we go from this big arrow to a plus sign, and we're going to drag it down. Okay, boom, it did all of our positions. So all it's doing, because I like people to understand what we're doing, is saying, hey, we're looking for this number over here in this column, and then returning the position. So it's an offset match formula that looks very confusing. I typically don't run my sheets with that formula, but in this case we have to. And then over here, let me copy this one out. And in this column, we're going to enter this formula, and it's a count formula. So we're going to change this over to Q201. And then we're going to do count if, and we're going to do Q201 to 209, 209, 201. Or it's not C, it's Q. Q. Okay, so ideally I'll leave the formula up here. So this should say we're going to look at Q201, and this ampersand sign is just putting stuff together. So it's going to take Q201, which in this case is SG, and then this and inside the parentheses is a string, so it's going to put a semicolon next to it, and then this ampersand is going to put a number next to it. It's going to say count if, and then it's going to count 201 to 209, however many's in there. So this is going to be SG1 because it's the first one, but then the next one should return SG semicolon number 2. And then I think this Q201 is right. I'm going to check real quick. So we're going to go ahead and hit it. Okay, so this says SG2, so that is not correct. So I've got a number off in here, and I want to go back and find it. So Q201. So we're going to turn Q01, and then we're going to count if Q01 to Q209. Let me try this, 209. All right, still returned SG. Let me see what this one's doing. So I got my other sheet pulled up on the side, so that's what I'm looking back at real quick. So we got C202 on that one. So for this one, it is Q201 and count if, and then that one is counting. So then we should count Q201 to Q209, and then return the number we are counting. Wow, that's confusing. All right, so we're gonna count Q201 through Q209. We have dollar signs around the first one because that's static, and then we're going to 20. Maybe this should just be Q01. Let me try that. Okay, well, hey, looky there. All right, let me make sure I understand this. So Q201 is SG, and then we're adding a semicolon, and then we're adding a count. And the count is going to be 201, between 201 and this is 201, but when we drag it down, this is going to become 202 because there's not a dollar sign. The dollar signs here make it static. So this is the beginning that doesn't move, and this is a variable that's going to change, and then it's going to kick it out over here at Q201. So if you're following along and you put this, copy this formula. Can't exactly 100% explain it, but it should work. Once you get it copied, we're going to go down here and bottom right hand, we're going to drag that down, and we're going to check and see if it works. So this is the first shooting guard. This is the first power forward, small forward, second shooting guard. So yes, it counted 2. And then to go back and explain it, so what it's doing, the dollar signs keep this 201. It's static. And then we're in cell Q205, so this keeps changing as you drag it down and spits it out. So now we've got the number of players, we've got the position, now we've got the counted position that we're going to go to when we go up and spit it out in this, so we can make it nice and neat. So we're going to scroll back down here to our secret little hiding spot, and I'm going to copy this other offset match formula. I'm going to put it in here, and then I'm going to make it match up to ours, which I should have just kept it the same. So our offset match formula, we're returning A1. That's where the player name is, so that's what we want. So we want the numbers and the columns in A1. So I'm good with that part. So then we're going to go to match, and this is A202. So I don't think that's correct for us. So we're going to be O202. O202. We're actually going to be O201 because for some reason I did it one different. So then we're going to be O201, and then we're going to be semicolon. Let's see, I was ZZ in the other one. With this one, the picker column is in, and then 0, comma, 0, parenthesis, -1, comma, 0, parenthesis. So this is what we should look like. I'm going to leave it up on the screen for a minute. Feel free to pause here. All right, let's see if this one works. All right, so it's pulling down DeRozan. And don't worry about the names being cut off. We want the other formula. So point guard 2, Patty Mills. I want to make sure that's correct. Point guard 2, Patty Mills. So we had DeRozan, we had Aldridge, Durant, Forbes. Forbes is point guard 1. Rivers, shooting guard 1. Center. Draymond, Harris. Oh, there he is. Patty Mills. So he will be the point guard 2. So, okay, so it pulled everybody down correctly. And this part is confusing. I do apologize. There's probably a better way to do it. I'm just not familiar with it. So we're going to go from there. And then, yeah, so that is basically it. So now we want to remember what these are. So go ahead, take a pen and paper if you've got one, and write down whatever cell starts SG1. So for me, it's R201. And when you click it, it highlights these if you're not familiar with Excel. So we're going to look at R201. And then the end of our table is going to be S209. I should have done even numbers to make this easier. So S209. So we're basically going to search here, and we're going to look for the matching number, and then we're going to return the value in column 2. So I'm going to go ahead and just cover this up and hide it, highlight it black. Okay, it's gone. You can't see it, but we know that it's there. And then when you ever protect your sheet, you could lock this so no one can accidentally click it and change it, because you can imagine the headache it would be if someone just randomly clicked this and erased something, then it's not going to work. So I always lock those. And then here, we're going to do a VLOOKUP formula, which this is a very easy one. So we're going to go VLOOKUP T4, and that is, you can see it highlighted there, PG semicolon 1. And we're going to look it up in the table that we just did. So that's R201 semicolon S209. And I'm going to put a $sign on each one. So you can click on the left side of the semicolon and hit F4, and click on the right side of the semicolon and hit F4, and it will put $signs on each side. What that means is it's static. That table doesn't change. So when we drag this formula down all the way down to C1, it's not going to change. If you don't put a $sign, it's going to also look further down for that table, so it's going to miss the people up top. So just put $signs in front of it, easy peasy. Comma. Now, what column do we want? Now, there's only 2 columns. The first one is the PG1, SG1, etc. The second column is the player name. We want the player name, so we're going to return the value for column 2. Like we said, we always use false. We're going to hit it, and it's going to bring up Brian Forbes. We're going to go bottom right-hand corner. We're going to drag it down. Whoop, drug too far. And so this gives us our players. So Capella's our center, Aldridge, Draymond Green, etc., etc. And then just for fun, I want to know the position, the salary, and the projection to make it look a little better. Sorry, let me get rid of this. That's driving me nuts. Okay. So again, we're going to do a VLOOKUP formula. So I'm just going to copy this formula here. I'm going to put over here on position. And so we're going to look up the player name. So we're looking up U4, so the player that it returns. And we're not looking it up in that area. We're going to look it up on our main table. So we're going to do $A, $2. So it's going to start there, and we're going to look all the way over to semicolon D200. D200. I'm going to go ahead and hit F4. And so let me erase this part. So right now, you should understand the VLOOKUP formula. So we're looking up U4, that's our player here, and we're looking it up in this table, A through D. So when we find, you want to start the table with what you're searching is going to be. So player name is where we're starting. We're starting at A2, and we're going all the way out to D. The reason we're going out to D is because we're going to return the position, which is going to be column 2, salary, which is going to be column 3, projection, which is going to be column 4. So then we can copy and paste this and just go 2, 3, 4. Easy enough? All right, so position, what column is it? It's 2. 1, 2. So we're going to return column 2. Again, we're false. Hit enter. It's going to bring PG, highlight, plus sign, drag it down, and if you're meticulous, we can center it. This is just kind of a double checker to make sure it matches here. You don't need this in here, but I had it in my other one, so I left it. Now, click in the top one. We're going to highlight it, Control C or hit copy. Now, before you click out of the box, make sure you hit enter so it unhighlights all of that. And then I'm just going to paste that and hit enter for salary, and I'm going to paste it and hit enter for projection just to get the VLOOKUP formula in there. Now I'm going to go to salary. Now this is column 1, 2, 3. So when I'm in here, I'm just going to change this from a 2 to a 3 because we've got the table already, and it's going to bring up my salary. Now projection is column 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to click here. It's same thing, column 4, and it's going to bring up the projection. Now you can highlight both of these, and you still have this little box in the bottom right hand corner where you turn to a plus sign. When you go hover over it, drag it down, and then there you've got your projection. Now these numbers I don't like, they're a little big, so I'm going to highlight them. I'm going to go up here, change it to a number, and then you can either add decimal places, you can remove it, however many you want. I think 1 is fine. And then we should be able to auto sum that, and then highlight this, and where you want it to be on the bottom, just click auto sum. I'm going to go ahead and make sure these are centered. And then we're going to add some brackets, and let's make this green. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. So you can see the total salary is $59,900, and this matches up here. And then the projection is $289,700, which is up here, and you can even change this to format it if you want it. So now you should have a working optimizer, and if you ever have any issues, make sure you go back down here and you find out, make sure you didn't do anything incorrect over here. But this is kind of our hidden little table where we're going to find it. Cover it up, can't see it, good to go. And then let's go ahead and test it. So we're going to clear. All right, so it erases it, and you can change this to where it goes blank when you erase it or whatnot, but NAs are fine. We're going to click Run Opto, okie dokie, and then it's going to put in our players, positions, and salaries. So far that worked out good. I apologize it took a little bit longer than what I wanted it to be. And let me go ahead and test. Let's see, let's take Jokic. So we're going to lock him in here, run. I want to make sure he shows up. Boom, there he is right there. So that's great. So clear it. We're going to make sure he clears out. And that's good. So you kind of get the idea for NBA. Now we did positions. So now if you were going to do DraftKings, your positions would be a lot more. So they would be players that are more eligible here. You would do another column for utility. And so like a point guard / shooting guard would have a 0 here, a 0 here, and then a 0 in the utility column. And it could be either one of these. And then for point guards, you'd have your same chosen, but your minimum would be 1 because you need at least 1 for the PG. But then you could have a maximum of 3 because you could have the point guard, you could have the any guard, and you could have the utility spot. So then it gets a little bit more complex when you go there. But anyways, we've got a working optimizer for Fanduel. We piggyback this off the Excel tutorial from our golf lineup. So now you should be able to do one for PGA and Fanduel NBA. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know. We're going to come out with a ton of videos in 2020, so please subscribe. Hit the like button if you like seeing these videos. I love making them, so hopefully you guys get some enjoyment out of them, and let's crunch some lineups.